So I thought I'd do a video talk through of my 12V sound system. It's another love of mine, sound systems and bikes towing sound systems. Well, two great things combined. So I'm going to go into some depth talking about what I've got currently set up, the evolution that I've kind of gone through to get to this point, maybe go into some nerd details about amplifiers and stuff, and hopefully it will help you make some noise with a bike. So this is my little stack in its current form. Gone through many steps to get to this point, starting with just sort of 6x9 speakers from cars in boxes, and still sounded cool with the right setup, but slowly it's evolved to what we're looking at now. I've picked all of this stuff up secondhand, Facebook Marketplace and eBay. Great speakers, great amplifiers. Haven't really bought anything new, so keep your eyes out. You can pick up good stuff cheap. So I've got a Void, a Venu 115 single 15-inch bass bin running at 8 ohms. I've got a 2 Traction Sound 8-inch tops. These speakers independently are great, and together in this setup is by far the best sound I've got so far. So they are being powered by this little stack of gadgets. But let me talk about how I feed into that to start with. So Bluetooth is useful on a bike, because then you can have your phone up on your handlebars. You haven't got to worry about cables running to the equipment behind you or whatever. But Bluetooth can be a bit flaky, so you need a decent one, in my opinion, especially if you don't want loads of noise added to the signal path. I found this thing, which is pretty good. It's about 20 quid. It's a transmitter and receiver, so I use it as a receiver so I can connect my phone to it. It's got really long range. It's got different codecs on it, so that its quality is pretty good. The only annoying thing with it is if you get a disconnection, the annoying sort of robotic woman's voice that shouts over the sound that you've lost connection is infinitely louder than the sound which was already loud. So bear that in mind. But they all seem to have an annoying bleep tone, or like American voice shouting over it if you've lost your connection. So that's a downside with these Bluetooth things. That's going into this Omnitronic little mixer, tiny little thing. Went through a few different versions. There was a few different types of mixer to try and get a signal into the rig, and settled on this because this is good. It's cheap. It's got a really low noise floor, but it's also got some great features. So it's got gain control on each channel. It's got a 2-band EQ on each channel, so treble and bass. It's got a mic level, but no one needs a mic. It's got master volume, Q level, which is pretty sweet. Plug headphones in. It's got a really light crossfader, which is really nice to play around with. It's got 2 RCA inputs and a record output, and it runs on 12 volts, so you can get a feed out of your power supply, however that is being powered. I'll go into that in a bit. And then you can also run it off the same battery or whatever. Before I started using mixers and just going straight into the rack, the quality of the sound wasn't so good because the gain on the output from my iPhone or my Android phone just isn't very strong. So I found that going into one of these little mixers so that you've got some gain control so you can boost the signal, and it's got a bit more of a sort of standardized output for amplifiers, definitely worthwhile. So that's going to hide somewhere on the back of this rig somewhere when it's set up on the back of my trike, so that it's accessible. Then the output of that goes into this 4-in 4-out DSP called the t.racks or the tracks DSP 4x4 mini. I'll put like information on all of this kit in the description. 4 1/4-inch jack-ins, 4 1/4-inch jack-outs, all manageable via software. So this is plugged in USB to the computer. This is just showing the crossover point that I've set up, but there's loads of cool functions. You've got gates, you've got individual channels, compressors, so you can see that there's some compression. Output 1 and 2 are the tops, and output 3 and 4 is combined for the sub. And then you can add delays if you really wanted. You've got a matrix that you can choose which ins go to which outs. And then on each channel you've got parametric EQ, lots of settings for types of shelf and high pass and low pass, etc. Gain control, mutes. You can copy all of the data from one channel to another, so you don't have to duplicate your work. You can just click and drag stuff. It's really good, other than the fact it looks like it was made in the 90s. It's actually a pretty sweet bit of software, and then you can just store it and recall it from the hardware. So you can have different settings. If you had a different input source or whatever and you needed to change things, you could store different settings. You can only recall this stuff if it's plugged into a computer though, so you're either dragging around a laptop with you, or you just set up your settings, dump it onto the hardware, and then you don't need a computer. So that bit of kit is brilliant. I bought that new, but that has improved the sound like tenfold. It's really helped in this situation, because the 2 outs from this can go to your tops, and 2 outs can go to the bass bin, and then you can independently obviously tune it all and set crossover points, rather than relying on the crossovers that are built into these amplifiers, because even though, you know, they're not bad, they're difficult to fine tune because they're like all altered with like a little screwdriver and stuff, and you can see, like, you know, the gap or the distance between that 60 hertz and 125 hertz is tiny, so you can't tune that in very well. Whereas if you just let the software on the DSP do that, then you'll get a lot better sound. So coming out of the DSP for the bass is being powered by this Pioneer mono block amp. Dead quiet, no fans in it, I don't think. It's totally silent. It can output about 300 watts, I think at 4 ohm, no, about 200 to 300 watts at 8 ohm, I believe. I think I worked it out at. The Void sub can take more than that, but this is what the budget allows at the moment and what I've got, and it's still beastie. It's really good. And then the other 2 channels is going into this DS18 Pro, one of their older model amplifiers. This is super loud in terms of the fans on it. At some point I might change the fans for quieter ones, because it's stupid how loud it is. I mean, listen to it as soon as you turn it on. But you know, the sound system drowns that out, but still it's a bit of a noisy beast. But the amplifier itself is actually really good. It drives these 2 traction sounds about 150 watts a piece at 8 ohms a channel. So how is all of this powered? Well, currently it's using this battery, which I've taken apart multiple times, so that's why it looks a little bit strapped together. But this is a lithium pack that I made, and it's 12.6 volts fully charged, because it's 3 series. What I didn't really realise at the time of making this is these amps, to get the maximum power that they can produce, you need to run them at 14.4 volts. And any voltage drop on the input to these amps means your power output is lowered, because the efficiency of the amp is worse. So I can't boost this voltage, because obviously fully charged it's 12.6, but then it's constantly on its way down. So even though it still drives it really well, I know I could get more out of these speakers and amplify if I had a better power supply. So the next thing I've just ordered is a transformer. It's about this big, and it allowed me to connect big e-bike batteries. So these types of batteries can then be connected to that transformer, set the transformer to 14.4 volts, and then feed that into the power of all of this, which means as the e-bike battery goes down in voltage, the 14.4 volts will be steady, so the amps will always have that voltage, which means I'll get the maximum out of them. So once I've got that and I've got that running, I might do another video about it. But right now, it's a battery. The battery works totally fine. I'm just obsessing over this and trying to get the maximum out of everything. So the battery is running into a big, I'm just using this like a switch. So I've gone overkill, it's 100 amp. I'm not hitting 100 amp with these two things. Probably hitting around 60 amps at peaks. But I don't actually know that for certain. I'm just going on spec sheets for that information. This I'm just using like a switch. If I want to turn the power off to absolutely everything, you can just press that button. It's like a resettable fuse. So if it did breach 100 amps, which would be more than both of these should ever really do, then it will pop this, which is a good thing. Because if you're dealing with this much current, you know, that can cause some pretty major problems if you just allow it to continue to draw more than it should. So you should have fuses involved when you start using systems like this. So then I've got a clamp meter around it. I found this clever little gadget on eBay. That tells me the voltage. So if I turn it on, then you can see that currently the battery's at 11.9 volts. So then you can keep an eye on your battery level. You'll know when you're about to run out of power. Also, as it goes down, you will find that like your volume will definitely decrease, but the bass is often a thing that you hear reduce or start becoming a bit more distorted as it gets lower and lower. So then that goes into one of these big distribution points to then give power to both amps and also give power to other stuff. When you're drawing this much current, you should be using decent cable. Don't use thin crap cable because it will get hot and it will burn out. This is lots and lots of fine cores inside this, so lots and lots of strands of copper, and it's silicon line, it's silicon insulation, so it's heat resistant and flexible. Not so important if you're running lower current stuff, but you start pulling more power than you think quite often, so it's worth beefing up your cables. And then yeah, these are the power points, and then this is this is converting whatever input it's got to a solid 12 volt. The reason we've got that is because the DSP needs a, you know, you don't want that to just like peak over 12 volts because that's designed to be plugged into the wall with a power supply that gives a very regulated 12 volt output. So that 12 volt from this little unit is powering that and the mixer, so that they've got a nice solid 12 volt line. And then the on-offs for each amp I put on these switches, so they're off when like this on my setup, and then if you flick it down, it turns the switch on, flicks it on. You can hear the difference. That's the treble, turn the amp off, the bass is on, and it's totally silent. So yeah, it's definitely, the Pioneer's definitely better in that sense. And that's it really, I think. It's got pretty silly, relatively quick. I mean, I've been mucking around with this for quite some time, like years, but I come and go with my projects, and this one's evolved to this now, and it sounds ridiculous, and it's, yeah, I'm well happy with the size and the power of it. So that's going to fit on the back of my Pashley Trike I recently picked up. Hopefully I'll get the bike ready soon, and then this can be tested out on it. Hopefully see you in London at some time. Take it easy.